babies! Today I'm going to be telling you a story that okay, this is kind of weird, but ever since I started telling Storytime videos on my channel, before I made them, I always thought they were so entertaining and I watched them constantly, but I was like, if I started telling them, I would have like 3 interesting things that have happened in my life, you know what I'm saying? But I remember things now all of the time that it's just like the smallest thing will happen. I'll see like a squirrel on the road and remember something so strange. And like this is one of those things that I can't believe I ever didn't think that this was an interesting thing to talk about. I was in Florida really recently visiting one of my best friends, and we both used to live in this military town, and just weird things happened there. And she talked about how one time a guy followed her to her car. One time I legitimately had someone follow me home and walk into my apartment building, and I'm gonna get into all of it. But I wanted to really quickly let you guys know before this story time starts, this is a collab with a ton of my YouTube friends, and I really want you guys to go and watch their videos as well, because they're all telling some really cool and funny and interesting stories. I'm gonna have all of them linked down below, but the people I'm collabing with today are
Nicola Foti from Soundly Awake, Timmy Tomato, Jessie V, Shannon Rose, and Jessie Smiles.
Please go check out my friends, you guys. You are going to love their videos. But for now, I'm going to get into my crazy, weirdo stalker story about a guy. It's weird. Basically, my friend and I, the town that we used to live in is a military town, and I lived in a military town because, hello, in case you didn't already know, I am married and he is in the military, and it's weird because this particular town could be really nice in some spots, and then in other spots it was just bad. And when my husband and I first got married, I was 19, he was 21. We had $0 and 0 cents to spend on anything, and so we lived in a really rundown, crappy apartment building. And right across the street from our really rundown, crappy apartment building was a very nice neighborhood, like a bougie neighborhood that you would not expect to see literally across the street from these cheap apartments. Well, a lot of people from my apartment building would like go over there to go for walks and stuff because there was an open trail. And when I got my dog, I basically would like take her over to that neighborhood all the time because there was that really nice trail. There was a lot of room to walk, and it was less scary than walking in like the vicinity of my apartment building because, again, sketchy. So getting along with the crazy stalker, I was followed home portion of this, I was going to Walmart and I saw, as I was getting out of my car, a gentleman getting out of his car. And I remember the car very distinctly. It was rusty, but it was blue. So like, it was like a powdery blue, but do you ever see those cars that are just, they've seen better days? It was rusty, it was beat down, but like, the only reason I remember that is because I saw him several times after this. Like, he got out of his car and I didn't think anything of it. We made eye contact for about 2 seconds and I didn't think, wow, I'm going to die today. I'm going to be followed home. I just thought he was like a normal dude. And so I went into Walmart. Completely forgot about him, didn't think twice. And it was just like, every time I turned around, I saw this guy. And I'm not someone who like, I don't see someone like at every corner and think, wow, you're following me. Like, my brain doesn't work like that, and maybe I wasn't like aware enough of the situation, but like I just assumed it was a coincidence. I would get the bread and I would look over and he would be at the end of the aisle staring at me. And I have to mention, the entire time I saw him in the grocery store, he never had any food in his hands. He never bought anything while he was in there. And I mean, maybe I missed something. I really don't know. That's just what I remember. This was a few years ago. Basically, every time I turned around, I saw him and I was just like, wow, that's kind of weird. I just thought maybe he needed something and he was afraid to ask. And I don't know, like maybe I'm approachable. Like I assumed he would come up to me if he needed me, and I didn't stop to talk to him or anything like that. Well, I went out to my car and I started unloading my groceries, and he was really like not far behind me. And that was when I noticed, wow, he doesn't have anything in his hands. That's kind of weird, you know, like seeing him leave Walmart and he had been in there exactly as long as I had and hadn't brought anything out. And I thought that was kind of strange, but whatever. I finished loading up my groceries, and luckily right as he came out, I was finishing up. So he didn't say anything, I didn't say anything to him. I just got in my car and I drove away. So I drove from Walmart back to my apartment complex. And as I was pulling into my apartment complex, I saw the powder blue, really rusty car kind of driving by right as I turned in. And I was like, huh, weird, seeing him again, not thinking much of it. I just unload my groceries and I gear up to take my dog for a walk. My husband comes home, we talk for a few minutes, I let him know my dog is a husky, and at the time she was a puppy and she was so cute. Oh my god, she was the cutest puppy ever. And I seriously went on walks with her all the time because she has so much energy, and she still does, and she still needs lots of walkies. So we went on a walk, and as I said, we went across the street to the really nice bougie neighborhood because it's safer to walk there than it was in my general apartment complex or on like the side of the road or something like that. So we go over there, we go for a walk, and we're walking through the neighborhood, and essentially the way that this was you could like walk through the neighborhood, or you could just go straight to like the nature walk. But to warm my dog up, and just because like she was very new to walking on the leash, I would always walk her through the neighborhood first, and then we would go down the trail. And as I'm going down a side street, I see the rusty, broken down blue car driving down the road. And basically, I'm over here on a side street. The car is driving down the road. Nobody, like, he didn't stop. He didn't say anything. It's a small town. Like, maybe he lived there. But once again, this is the bougie part of town. I just really want to reiterate that. Not that, like, someone with a broken down car couldn't have a nice house. And not that this guy looked like he wouldn't have a nice house. I don't like to make judgments or anything like that. It was just weird because I would have thought, I don't know, that maybe that person would have come back to his neighborhood earlier, but whatever, maybe he had stuff to do. I saw it, thought it was weird, but I was like, oh well. So I continue on my walk and I take my dog on our nature walk. We basically like kind of cross out of the neighborhood, like the paved walking area, the paved road, and we go on the nature walk. And we're doing our thing. I'm not thinking anything of it. We finish up, we walk back out, and I see the car again driving back through the neighborhood going out. And it's really weird how I kept catching this car right as it was driving away. I never caught it like stopped. I never caught it like, it was always driving away from me. So I don't want to like assume that I was being watched or followed or anything like that, but like I thought it was so strange that like I kept seeing the car drive away. All right, so I go home after the nature walk and I just go up and into my apartment building. And I think that night my husband was taking care of dinner and he just asked me if I could go ahead and just take down the trash for him. And I was like, yeah, I can do that for you. And I went ahead and I told him, you know, this really weird thing happened to me and I kept seeing this car everywhere, like blah, blah, blah. And he was like, are you sure it wasn't like the multiple cars, like maybe, you know, people have similar looking cars. It was probably just like your imagination. And I was like, you're probably right. How many times can I say the word like in this video? So I take down the trash because the way that our apartment complex was, we took down the trash to a dumpster and then that dumpster was taken out. So I take down our trash to the dumpster. And as I'm exiting my apartment building, I see the blue car coming down the road. And the blue car is past the driveway for my apartment complex. It's like down, it's almost right at my apartment building, but it's past like the driveway. But the guy inside was the same guy that I saw from Walmart, and we made eye contact for about 2 seconds. I'm not gonna lie to you guys, like you can think I'm bratty or whatever, but in the end my vibes were right. Like what I thought was off was off. But this guy made eye contact with me and I just felt very uncomfortable. And so I started to turn the corner because I came out of the apartment building and then the dumpster was out back. Sorry, there's a little mouse outside my house right now and he's so cute. I don't know what this is, by the way. This is me digging for answers because this story is so weird. I started to turn the corner so that I can go and throw out the trash into the dumpster. And as I'm turning, the car in the middle of the road makes such a sharp turnaround, like the car flips, like you can hear the tires squeaking on the road as this guy makes the hardest turn ever. I was like, screw this, like I'm throwing out my trash, I'm getting upstairs where it's safe. I go to the dumpster to throw out the trash and the car pulls into my apartment complex, not only into the complex, but into like the parking lot of my building, and makes, again, such a hard stop right before he hits the dumpster that his wheels squeak. And it was just so sudden and like the car almost hit the like freaking dumpster. Why would you even like do that? So immediately I open the dumpster, I throw out my trash and I don't start running, but I start walking very, very quickly back around my apartment building. The car stays on, the guy stays in his car staring at me. And I didn't know what was gonna happen. In my, like, I can't remember what was running through my head at this point, but probably just that, like, I didn't know if this guy wanted to eat my skin. Like, I didn't know if he wanted to kill me. I didn't know if he wanted to ask me a question. Like, I didn't know what was happening. I didn't know if he was lost and he wanted directions or something. But he hadn't talked to me the entire day, and I had seen him, God, like 6 or 7 times in the span of, maybe that's wrong, maybe like 5 or 6 or 7, I don't know, in like the span of a few hours. And I'd seen him all over town, and there he was about to freaking hit the dumpster that I was throwing my trash into, and he had flipped the car so fast in the middle of the road, I was just scared. I was sketched out. So I start walking really quickly back to my apartment building. I get inside. I did not even make it up 1 flight of stairs, and I had to go up 2 more flights of stairs before I heard the door open, and someone came running after me. And I'm not making this up, you guys. I immediately turn around, and it's the Walmart guy. Like, I'm not gonna keep you in suspense. I don't know if this guy was on drugs. Like, I don't know what was happening here, but his eyes were wide. Like, he looked like he had just seen a ghost or something, and he's staring at me, and he's like, hey. Like, we knew each other or something, but also like he was mad. And I just stared at him and said, hey. Like, I didn't know what to say to this guy. And he just said, do you have a boyfriend? Do I have a what? I'm sorry. Did you just seriously? I stared at him and I didn't know what to say. I was just like, yeah. Because I didn't know what to do. I didn't know whether to like hold my hand up and just kind of like, it was just so weird. It was so weird. I had seen him all day, and he followed me into my apartment building, and he asked if I had a boyfriend, and I said yes. He was just like, okay, well, I've seen you a lot today. And the way that he was talking was not the way that I'm talking to you. It was very like erratic. And like when it was hard to explain. He said, I've seen you a lot. And then he like paused and he said, today. And it was kind of like his speech was, something was off. Something was just off, and that's what I'm trying to say. And I was like, yeah, that's weird. And then I said, I have to go. And I started walking up the stairs, and he said, wait. And when he said wait, like it was so loud, the entire apartment building shook. And it's a very cheap apartment building, so that's not surprising. And he said, can I get your number? He asked me, can I have your number? I said no, because I had just told him I had a boyfriend, even though like I was married. I didn't want to give him my number, and I just said no. And he just stood there and stared at me, like at the bottom of the stairs. I just told him, I have to go now. And it probably wasn't smart of me to walk into my apartment, because then he like knew where I lived, and he knew like I wasn't going into any of the 2nd floor apartments. I was going to the 3rd floor apartment. So that probably wasn't smart, but I didn't know what else to do. And so I walked in and I told my husband what had just happened, and he was like so livid. And so he walked down the stairs. This guy caught one sight of him, and my husband is like not scary. I mean, maybe he's scary, I really don't know. But like this guy caught sight of him and probably understood what was happening. And before my husband could even say anything, the guy ran outside, and I saw him from the 3rd floor jump into his car, start the car, and drive out of the apartment complex. Once again, turning so fast, the wheels were squeaking on the road, and I never saw him again. And I asked my landlord the next day, hey, like I saw this guy here, and he followed me into the apartment building, because my landlord lives in the same apartment building that I do. I described the car, I described the guy, and I was like, does anyone here like sound like that? Like, do you know anyone like that? And he said, no, like I've never seen that car before. That doesn't sound like someone who lives here. And it's really weird that he followed you into the building. Moral of this story is, now I genuinely believe that this guy was stalking me for like the entire day. Just nothing about it makes sense. Why was he in my apartment complex? And why was he across the street in the really nice bougie neighborhood? I went walking there all the time. I never saw him again. I never saw his car again. And I genuinely think he was following me. And like, I've never been more sure of anything in my entire life. It was the weirdest thing in the entire world. And then like the climax was, can I have your number? Or like, do you have a boyfriend? It was just so weird. So that's my story time for today. I'm gonna go ahead and cut this short because this is a really long story. So please go and check out my friend's videos. That was the weirdest story I think that I may ever tell. hopefully I never have one of those situations again. So I'm gonna go ahead and go. I love you guys so much. If you did enjoy the video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you are coming from any of my friends' channels, then please subscribe to my channel if you have not already. I would love to have you here. I do a lot of beauty and fashion videos, but I also do story times and a lot of just like whatever the heck I want. So if you want to check out more Storytime videos, I'll have a little playlist down below. And yeah, I will see you guys next time. Please have a good day, and I will catch you soon. Bye!